I'm leaving, just like you told me to.
Let me share the story of how a single sentence from my wife became the catalyst that ended our marriage, and how I executed my exit before she even comprehended what she'd actually said to me. My wife and I had shared 6 years together. The initial years weren't awful, but they certainly weren't remarkable either. Somewhere around the 4th year mark, I noticed shifts beginning to occur. She secured a position with a downtown consulting firm, developed new friendships, and started spending increasing amounts of time away from home. At first, I didn't object. Everyone requires their own identity and social connections, correct? Then Dominic entered our lives. He was her colleague, who rapidly became her supposed best friend. Suddenly, everything revolved around Dominic. Lunch appointments with Dominic, extended project sessions with Dominic, perpetual text messaging with Dominic. Whenever I suggested their relationship appeared inappropriate for a married woman, she'd dismiss my concerns as jealousy and accuse me of harboring antiquated perspectives about platonic friendships between men and women. Perhaps her assessment was accurate, or perhaps I simply recognized the reality of what was unfolding before me. The breaking point arrived on a Friday evening, marking the 3rd consecutive weekend she'd arranged to go out. I found myself in the kitchen preparing my own dinner, since she obviously had no intention of being present. She descended the stairs wearing this specific black dress, you understand the type, the kind women select when they're attempting to captivate someone's attention. Her makeup appeared flawless, hair immaculately arranged, and she wore that expensive perfume I'd purchased for her last Christmas that she insisted she was preserving for meaningful occasions. Apparently, nightclub visits with Dominic now qualified as meaningful. "You're actually going out again?" I inquired, maintaining a neutral tone, simply exhausted by the pattern. She pivoted toward me with an expression I'd never witnessed before. Detached and frigid, as though I were some bothersome roommate challenging her plans. "Yes, I'm going out, and it's Friday night. I work extremely hard all week long. I deserve to enjoy myself." "With Dominic?" "Yes, with Dominic and several others from the office. Maintaining friendships isn't criminal." I placed down the knife I'd been utilizing to slice vegetables. "This isn't about maintaining friendships. This is about demonstrating respect. This is about recognizing priorities within a marriage. If you genuinely can't tolerate how I choose to live," she interjected, placing heavy emphasis on the word "my," "then simply leave." The kitchen became silent, aside from the sound of water flowing from the faucet I had neglected to shut off. She grabbed her purse, checked her phone, and proceeded toward the exit. "I'll return late. Now don't bother waiting up for me." The door closed firmly. Her engine ignited. Taillights disappeared down our street. I remained standing there, perhaps 5 full minutes, processing not merely her words, but her delivery. The absolute dismissal. The complete absence of concern regarding my feelings or what this behavior was doing to our relationship. "If you genuinely can't tolerate how I live, then simply leave." I ascended the stairs to our bedroom and opened the closet door. My section was relatively organized and tidy. Her section represented chaos, as it perpetually did. I retrieved my phone and initiated 3 calls. First was to Brennan, my buddy from college, who'd remained a close friend. "Hey man, I need an enormous favor. Can you bring your truck over in approximately an hour? I'll provide explanations when you arrive." Second was to Griffin, my younger brother. "I'm leaving her tonight. Can you assist me with moving my belongings?" Third was to Callum, another friend who was indebted to me for helping him relocate last year. "I'm calling in that favor. Need some muscle, and I need it immediately." Then I commenced packing. 6 years of marriage, 6 years of shared space and possessions and existence. I'd contemplated this moment previously in abstract hypothetical terms, but now that it was genuinely happening, I experienced this unusual calmness. No fury, no grief, just absolute clarity about what needed to happen. I retrieved my suitcases from the garage and started with clothing items. Then, personal belongings, documents from our file cabinet, my laptop computer, the tools in the garage that were genuinely mine, my grandfather's signed baseball that held sentimental value, photographs of my family that didn't include her in them. I left behind every single item that belonged to her or represented joint purchases. The furniture could remain hers. The dish sets could stay. The television was a joint purchase, but I had no interest in it. The expensive coffee maker she could keep. What I collected was exclusively mine. What defined my identity before her, what I'd require to reconstruct my life after her. Brennan appeared first, assessed my facial expression, and simply stated, "Where do you want me to start loading?" That represents genuine friendship. No interrogation, no questions, just immediate action. Griffin arrived approximately 20 minutes later, accompanied by Callum. We operated like a coordinated military unit, organized, efficient, maintaining relative silence. Around midnight, Griffin inquired, "You're absolutely certain about this decision?" I looked directly at him. She explicitly told me if I didn't appreciate her lifestyle, I should leave. I'm simply following her suggestion. He nodded in understanding. Fair enough then? By 2:30 in the morning, both trucks were completely loaded with my possessions. The bedroom closet displayed this striking contrast, her side overflowing with clothes and shoes and handbags. My side entirely empty, just bare hangers suspended from the rod and vacant shelves. I proceeded downstairs and composed a brief note, positioning it on the kitchen counter where she'd immediately notice it. "You're right, I don't like it." So I left. I removed my wedding ring and positioned it beside the note on the counter. Then I secured the door from the interior, exited through the garage, and pulled the garage door closed behind me as I departed. Brennan inquired where I was heading. "Your place. If that arrangement still works for you. I'll determine permanent living arrangements this week. Stay however long you require, brother." I followed his taillights through the empty streets at that early hour. My phone remained powered on, but I'd already determined I wouldn't answer any calls tonight, tomorrow, or potentially ever again. She desired her lifestyle. She could possess all of it without my presence in it. The clock on my truck's dashboard displayed 3:14 when I pulled into Brennan's driveway. I grabbed a single suitcase, leaving the remainder for morning. Inside his house, I finally permitted myself to check my phone. No calls, no messages whatsoever. She likely wasn't even home yet from her evening out. I configured an alarm for 8 a.m. I had substantial tasks to accomplish tomorrow. Bank accounts requiring separation, utilities needing cancellation, addresses requiring updates, attorneys needing consultation. But tonight, I simply went to sleep. For the first time in numerous months, I actually slept through the entire night without waking. I awakened at 7:53, 3 minutes before my alarm was scheduled. My body felt different somehow, lighter, as though I'd been carrying substantial weight I didn't realize existed until it was removed. Brennan was already awake, coffee brewing in the kitchen. He handed me a mug without speaking and sat across from me at his kitchen table. "So," he stated, "what's the plan moving forward?" I retrieved my phone. Still absolutely nothing from her. It was nearly 8 a.m. She should have returned home hours ago. Bank opens at 9 o'clock. I need to transfer my paycheck deposits to a new account in my name only. Then I'm contacting that attorney Stephanie recommended when she finalized her divorce last year. Brennan nodded approvingly. "Smart approach. You collected all your important documents?" "Everything critical. Birth certificate, passport, tax return copies, vehicle title. I grabbed everything last night before leaving." "What about the house situation?" "It's a rental property. Lease contains both our names. But I already sent a text message to the landlord at 6 this morning. Informed him I'm removing myself from the lease immediately, and she'll be handling it independently going forward." He was okay with that arrangement. He responded that as long as rent payments continue arriving, he doesn't particularly care who pays. I'm still technically liable until the lease expires in August, but that's 3 months away. I'll address it if she defaults. My phone suddenly exploded with activity. Finally. 17 missed calls, 23 text messages accumulated. I opened the messages but didn't read them thoroughly, just scrolled through rapidly. The progression was entirely predictable. Confusion at 3:28 a.m. when she arrived home. Anger by 4:15 a.m. Panic by 5:30 a.m. Bargaining attempts by 6:45 a.m. The most recent message, transmitted 12 minutes ago. "We need to talk immediately. This is childish behavior. You can't just abandon everything without discussing things like adults." I showed the screen to Brennan. He laughed. "That's remarkably rich. She explicitly tells you to leave. You leave exactly as instructed, and now you're supposedly the childish one." That's typically how these situations function. I didn't respond to any messages whatsoever. Instead, I dressed and proceeded to the bank. The account separation process consumed 40 minutes. The bank manager, this older gentleman named Richard, could obviously tell something significant was occurring but maintained professional demeanor. I transferred everything except $200 to a new account at a completely different bank across town. Left just sufficient funds in the joint account to cover my portion of this month's rent payment, which had already been paid anyway. You'll want to remove yourself from any joint credit cards as well, Richard suggested quietly. Already planning on doing that today. From the bank, I drove directly to Crawford and Associates, the law firm Stephanie had utilized. Her attorney had been tough, fair, and efficient. Exactly the qualities I required. The receptionist managed to get me an appointment that same morning with a woman named Marlo Chen. Mid-40s, sharp, observant eyes, no-nonsense professional demeanor. "Tell me everything," she stated, pen positioned ready. I laid out the entire situation. 6 years of marriage, no children, thankfully, no joint property except furniture and household items I had no interest in claiming. Vehicle titles were separately held. No significant shared debt except the joint credit card I was removing myself from immediately. The rental lease I was extracting myself from. Good, that simplifies the situation considerably. She made detailed notes. Any infidelity involved? Emotionally, definitely yes. Physically, I don't know with certainty and honestly don't care to discover the answer. Fair enough. Virginia is a no-fault state anyway, so it doesn't particularly matter unless you wanted to pursue it for alternative reasons. I don't. I simply want out. Clean, fast, equitable. Marlo smiled slightly. My favorite type of client. The ones who want to move forward with their lives, not seek revenge. Oh, I already obtained my revenge. I took her advice and left exactly as she suggested. She actually laughed at that. I'm going to enjoy this case. Give me 3 days to draft all the paperwork. In Virginia, you're required to be separated for 1 full year before divorce becomes final, if there's no mutual agreement, or 6 months if both parties consent to the terms. She won't consent initially. They never do at first, but they typically come around when they realize fighting costs substantial money. Marlo closed her folder. One additional thing, don't engage with her. She's going to attempt every possible approach to get you to respond, to meet up, to talk. Don't do it. Everything goes through me exclusively from this point forward. Understood? I departed her office feeling even better than I had that morning. This was actually happening in reality. No possibility of turning back now. My phone rang displaying her number. I declined the call. It rang again immediately afterward. Declined again. Then a text message arrived. Your brother gave me Brennan's address. I'm coming there. I called Brennan immediately. Change of plans. I'm staying at Griffin's place tonight and she's figured out where you live. Want me to tell her to leave if she appears? Just don't answer the door. She'll comprehend the message eventually. I drove to Griffin's residence across town. He worked remotely from home as a software developer, so he was present when I arrived. Moving in? He inquired, observing my suitcase. Just for tonight. She tracked me down to Brennan's location. Persistent, desperate. Griffin's apartment was smaller but comfortable enough. He set me up in his spare room, which was really just an office containing a futon. You seem okay, he observed, calmer than I anticipated. I made this decision weeks ago, honestly. Last night was simply the execution of the plan. Weeks ago? I sat down on the futon. Yeah, approximately a month back. She stayed out until 4 a.m. on a work night. Came home, didn't apologize, didn't explain anything. Just went to sleep as though it was completely normal behavior. That's when I knew. Knew what specifically? That I'd already lost her. Maybe I never genuinely had her to begin with. Either way, I was finished pretending everything was fine. Griffin grabbed 2 beers from his refrigerator and handed me one. To new beginnings. To self-respect, I countered. We clinked bottles together. My phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't her. It was her sister, Sienna. Don't answer, Griffin stated. Wasn't planning on it. But I read the message. What did you do? She's absolutely losing her mind. Call me immediately. I blocked the number. Then I methodically went through my contacts list and blocked her parents, her sister, her brother, and 3 of her closest friends who I knew would attempt to run interference on her behalf. Scorched earth approach? Griffin asked. Clean boundaries, I corrected. They chose their allegiance the moment they reached out on her behalf instead of asking what actually happened. My phone finally went quiet. I spent the remainder of the day establishing my new normal existence, changed my address with the Postal Service, updated emergency contacts at work, removed her from my health insurance beneficiary list, canceled the joint credit card. Each task felt like severing another thread that connected me to a life I didn't want anymore. By evening, my phone had accumulated 38 missed calls and over 60 messages from various numbers I didn't recognize. I didn't read a single one. Brennan texted, "She showed up here, pounded on the door for 20 minutes. Neighbors almost called the police. She finally left." Sorry about that situation, Brennan. Don't be. Dinner tomorrow evening. You can fill me in on everything. Sounds good. I fell asleep that night on Griffin's futon. Phone on silent mode, wedding ring sitting in a drawer somewhere at Brennan's house, and my future finally feeling like it belonged to me again. Tomorrow I'd start researching houses to purchase. Small ones, affordable ones. Mine. 3 days after I departed, she finally got intelligent and appeared at my workplace. I noticed her car in the parking lot when I arrived that morning. She was waiting near the entrance to the building where I worked as a project coordinator for a construction supply company. Not glamorous employment, but steady, reliable pay and decent benefits package. She looked absolutely terrible. Hair unwashed, eyes puffy and red, wearing sweatpants and one of my old college hoodies I'd left behind. Part of me felt bad, a very small part. The rest of me remembered how she'd looked 3 nights ago in that black dress, heading out the door without a single second thought about me. I walked directly past her. "Wait," she called out. "Please, just 5 minutes of your time." I kept walking without acknowledging her. The security guard, Charlotte, was stationed at the desk. I'd already given her advance warning this might occur. "Sir," Charlotte stated loudly enough for everyone in the lobby to hear, "is this person bothering you?" "Yes," I stated simply. "Ma'am, you need to leave the premises immediately, or I'll be forced to call the police." "Are you serious right now?" My wife's voice cracked with emotion. "I just want to talk to my husband." "He's asked you to leave. That means you're trespassing on private property." I didn't look back, just continued walking to the elevator. I heard her begin crying behind me, but I pressed the button and waited. The doors opened. I stepped inside. As they closed, I saw Charlotte firmly directing her toward the exit door. My boss, Rebecca, stopped by my desk approximately an hour later. "Everything okay?" "Charlotte mentioned an incident this morning. Personal situation, it's handled. Need any time off work?" "No, ma'am, I'm fine." She studied me for a moment. Rebecca had experienced her own divorce several years back. She understood the situation. "Okay, but if that changes, let me know." "Will do." I buried myself in work tasks. It helped tremendously. Spreadsheets, supply orders, contractor schedules. Normal problems with normal, straightforward solutions. At lunchtime, my phone rang from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "This is Dominic." The voice was tense and uncomfortable. I said nothing in response. "Look, man, I just wanted to say I had absolutely no idea things were that bad between you two. She told me you guys were basically roommates at this point, that you'd agreed to see other people. She lied. Yeah, I'm figuring that out now." He paused. "For what it's worth, nothing physical happened between us. We just talked and hung out as friends." "Don't care." "Right, well, I'm backing off completely. This is too messy. I don't need this kind of drama in my life." "Smart choice." He hung up. So that was that. The supposed best friend had disappeared the exact second things got complicated. Exactly like I'd predicted. These guys never stick around when the fantasy becomes reality. They want the excitement and attention, not the messy aftermath. That evening, I met Brennan for dinner at a sports bar near his place. We grabbed a booth in the back section. "She came by again today," Brennan said. "Different approach this time. Calm, sad, vulnerable. Asked if I'd just tell her where you were staying." "What did you say?" "That I'd promised not to reveal that information." She tried the whole friendship angle, how long we've known each other, how I should care about both of you. Brennan took a drink. "I told her I do care about both of you, and that's why I'm respecting your boundaries and keeping my word to you." Brennan grinned. She didn't appreciate that much. "I bet. Her little boyfriend bail yet? Called me today, gave me the whole innocent speech, then said it was too messy and he's out." Brennan laughed. "Classic. These dudes are all identical. Big talk until there are real consequences. My phone buzzed. Another unknown number. I showed Brennan the screen. That's like the 10th different number she's tried contacting you from, he said. 12th, actually. You going to get a new number? Already ordered a new SIM card. It should arrive tomorrow. The message read, I know you're angry, I know I messed up, but we took vows, for better or worse. You can't just quit when things get hard. I showed it to Brennan. That's some remarkably selective memory right there, he said. Pretty sure those vows also mentioned something about forsaking all others. I typed back, you told me to leave if I didn't like your life. I left, enjoy your life. Then I blocked that number as well. Cold, Brennan said, but he was smiling. Factual. We watched the game for a while. It felt normal and good, like I was returning to who I used to be before everything became complicated. Around 9 p.m., my work email pinged. It was from Marlo Chen, my attorney. Separation agreement drafted, reviewed, and ready for your approval. She's been served with initial paperwork today. Expect escalation. Expect escalation. That was putting it mildly. Sure enough, by the time I returned to Griffin's apartment at 10:30, I had 42 new messages from various numbers. I didn't read them, just kept blocking each one. Griffin was already asleep, so I tried to be quiet. Grabbed a shower, brushed my teeth, settled into the futon. My old phone, the one I was about to retire, buzzed one more time. It was her, from yet another number I didn't recognize. I'm pregnant. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I did the math in my head. We hadn't been intimate in almost 2 full months. She'd been on birth control for years, and even if by some miracle it was true, the timing didn't add up at all. I screenshot the message and forwarded it to Marlo with a note. Document this, it's false, but she's desperate. Marlo responded within minutes. Already noted in the file, this is a common tactic. Don't engage whatsoever. I blocked the number and finally plugged in my new SIM card. New number, new chapter. I sent it only to the people who mattered. Griffin, Brennan, my parents, Rebecca at work, Marlo. That was it. Nobody else. I fell asleep wondering how long she'd keep trying before she finally accepted that I meant exactly what I said, that I was actually gone for good. That the man who would have fought for her, who would have done anything to save the marriage, who would have bent over backwards to make her happy, that man had died the moment she told me to leave if I didn't like her life. And in his place was someone who finally understood that you can't love someone into respecting you. You can only respect yourself enough to walk away. The pregnancy lie lasted exactly 48 hours. Marlo called me Tuesday afternoon. She's already backtracking on the pregnancy claim. Her lawyer reached out saying she was emotional and mistaken about the timing. They want to discuss terms. No discussion, standard separation, split what little joint assets we have 50-50. I keep my truck, she keeps her car. Everything else can be divided or sold. I don't care. You're making this very easy for me. That's the goal. But she wasn't finished trying. Thursday evening, I was researching houses online when Griffin came into the living room with a strange expression. Your in-laws are outside. I looked up. Here? Yep, both of them sitting in their car. I walked to the window. Sure enough, there was her father's sedan parked across the street. I could see 2 figures sitting inside. What do you want to do? Griffin asked. Nothing. They can sit there all night if they want. And they did. For 3 hours, just sitting there in the dark, waiting. For what? I don't know. For me to come out and have some tearful reconciliation conversation, to yell at them, to apologize. Around 10 p.m., they finally drove away. Griffin shook his head. That was weird. That was desperation. Friday morning at work, Rebecca called me into her office. I need to tell you something, and I'm not happy about it. My stomach dropped. What's up? Your wife called our main line yesterday. Told the receptionist she needed to reach you urgently for a family emergency. When pressed for details, she admitted there was no emergency. She just wanted to talk to you. I'm sorry, Rebecca held up her hand. I'm not telling you this to reprimand you. I'm telling you because I've instructed our entire front desk staff that calls from her are not to be transferred under any circumstances. Period. I've dealt with this situation before, from the other side. I know how ugly it gets. Thank you. But I need to know this isn't going to affect your work performance. It won't. I'm handling it. Good. Because you're actually one of my most reliable people. I'd hate to lose that. I went back to my desk feeling lighter. Having Rebecca in my corner mattered more than I'd expected. At lunchtime, I drove to a property across town. Small two-bedroom house in an older neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but the price was right and it had good structural bones. The kind of place I could actually afford on my salary alone. The agent, a guy named Harrison Burke, met me at the door. First-time buyer? Second, but first-time solo. He got it immediately. Didn't ask questions, just showed me around. The house needed work, paint, new flooring in the kitchen, updated fixtures, but it was structurally sound. Roof was only 3 years old. Furnace worked fine. "I'll put in an offer," I said. "You sure? You've only seen one place." "I'm sure." That evening, Brennan invited me to his gym. I hadn't worked out properly in months. Too tired, too stressed, too busy dealing with everything else. The gym felt good. Lifting weights, running on the treadmill, just existing in a space where none of the drama could reach me. Afterward, in the parking lot, Brennan brought up something I'd been avoiding. "You haven't actually told me how you're feeling about all this." I leaned against my truck. Honestly, relieved. Not sad. I was sad months ago when I realized she'd already checked out, when I understood that the woman I married wasn't the woman living in that house anymore. By the time I left, I'd already grieved the relationship. Brennan nodded slowly. "That makes sense. The only thing I regret is not doing it sooner. I wasted 6 months trying to fix something she'd already broken." My phone buzzed. New number, but I recognized the area code. Her parents again. The voicemail came through a minute later. Her father's voice, stern and disappointed. "I raised you better than this. Walking out on your wife without even trying to work things out. Your parents would be ashamed of you." I deleted it without finishing listening. "They getting nasty?" Brennan asked. "Starting to. Your actual parents know what's going on?" "Yeah, I called them Sunday, told them everything. They said they'd been worried something was wrong for a while, that she'd seemed distant and disconnected at family gatherings." "What did they say about you leaving?" "My dad said sometimes the bravest thing you can do is admit something isn't working and walk away with your dignity intact." Brennan smiled. "Smart man. He's been married to my mom for 34 years. He knows what a good marriage looks like and what it doesn't look like." Saturday morning, I moved my belongings from Griffin's apartment to Brennan's spare bedroom. More permanent arrangement until the house closed, if it closed successfully. Marlo called while I was unpacking boxes. Good news and bad news. Good news first. "Your offer on the house was accepted. Inspection is scheduled for Tuesday." And the bad news? She's contesting the separation terms, wants spousal support payments. I actually laughed out loud. "On what grounds? We both work full-time. She makes more than I do. She's claiming she sacrificed career opportunities to support your marriage. That's complete fiction. I know, her lawyer knows, but she's grasping at straws. We'll shut it down easily enough." "How long does this drag things out?" "Maybe a month, 2 at most. She doesn't have a leg to stand on legally." After I hung up, Brennan asked, "Spousal support? She's trying. That's genuinely insane. That's genuinely desperate." Sunday, I did something I hadn't done in months. I went to church. Not because I was particularly religious, but because it was something I used to do before everything fell apart, before I started skipping, to avoid the questions, the concerned looks, the awkwardness of showing up alone while she slept off another late night. The pastor's sermon was about letting go of what weighs you down, about trusting that closing one door allows another to open. I'm not saying it was divine intervention, but the timing was remarkably good. After service, an older couple I'd known for years stopped me. "We haven't seen you in a while," the wife said gently. "I've been dealing with some things. We heard. Small community." She touched my arm gently. "Sometimes the hardest decisions are the right ones." I wasn't expecting that. I'd braced myself for judgment or criticism. "Thank you. You take care of yourself. You deserve happiness." Walking to my truck, I realized something. The people who actually knew me, who'd watched my marriage from the outside, they weren't surprised by this. They'd seen what I'd tried so hard to deny. That evening, sitting in Brennan's living room watching a game neither of us particularly cared about, my new phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Is this the coward who abandoned his wife?" A man's voice, aggressive and hostile. "Who is this?" "Dominic's brother. You got a problem with him. You deal with him like a man. You don't run away like—" I hung up. Brennan raised an eyebrow. "Problem?" "Dominic's brother. Apparently the guy already bailed on her. Why is his brother calling? No idea. Don't care. I blocked the number and turned off my phone completely. Tomorrow was Monday. Back to work. Back to normal. Back to building a life that was actually mine. Week 3 brought the confrontation I'd been expecting. My parents were having their monthly family dinner, something they'd done for years. Everyone knew about the separation by now. But Mom insisted life goes on, and family still gathers together. I arrived early to help set up. Griffin was already there with his girlfriend, my sister, and her husband. Normal Sunday evening, then the doorbell rang at 6:15. Mom opened the door and there she stood. My wife, her sister Sienna, right behind her. "I'm sorry to just show up," she said, voice shaking with emotion, "but he won't return my calls and we need to talk." My dad appeared in the doorway. "This isn't the appropriate place. Please, I just need 5 minutes, that's all I'm asking." Mom looked at me. I shook my head firmly. "I think you should leave," Mom said gently but firmly. "Mrs. Hartley, please, I love your son. I made mistakes, but we can fix this." I walked to the door. Everyone went quiet. She looked at me with those red eyes, desperate, broken. "You told me to leave if I didn't like how you lived your life?" I said calmly and clearly. "I left. There's nothing to fix." "I didn't mean it like that. I was angry. I said something stupid." "No, you said something honest. Maybe the most honest thing you'd said in months." Sienna stepped forward. "You're being cruel. She's trying here. She's trying now. Where was this effort when I asked her to stop going out every weekend? When I asked her to set boundaries with Dominic? When I begged her to go to counseling?" Silence. That's what I thought. I looked at my wife one last time. "You had a husband who would have done anything for you, who stayed faithful, who tried. You threw that away. Don't come crying now that Dominic bailed and you're alone." Her face crumpled. Sienna grabbed her arm. "We're leaving," Dad said. Not a suggestion, a statement. They left. Mom closed the door. The dinner was quiet at first. Then my sister broke the tension. "Well, that was intense. Had to be said," Griffin offered. Dad sat down heavily. "You handled that better than I would have at your age." "I've had practice." We ate, talked about other things, normal things, work, weather, Griffin's upcoming vacation plans. Around 9 p.m., after everyone left, Mom pulled me aside. "You okay?" "Yeah, actually, I am." She looked destroyed. She destroyed herself. I just stopped trying to save her from the consequences of her own choices. Mom hugged me. "I'm proud of you. That took strength." Tuesday, the house inspection came back clean. Minor issues, nothing major or concerning. I signed the purchase agreement that afternoon, feeling a sense of accomplishment. Wednesday, Marlo called. She's dropped the spousal support claim, accepting the separation terms as written. What changed? My guess? Reality set in. Fighting costs money she doesn't have. Dominic is gone. Her support system is realizing she's not the sufferer she claimed to be. So we're done? Not quite. Still need to finalize everything, but the hard part's over. 6 months and you're officially divorced. 6 months felt like forever and no time at all. Friday evening, I got the keys to my house. Small, quiet, empty. Mine. Brennan helped me move, and the few things I owned took about 2 hours to transport. Not much stuff for 6 years of marriage, he observed. Didn't need much, just needed what was mine. That night, I slept on an air mattress in an empty bedroom of a house I'd bought by myself. No furniture yet, no TV, just boxes and space and silence. It was perfect. My phone buzzed once, her number. I'd unblocked it to see if she'd reach out. The message was simple. "I hope you're happy." I typed back, I'm getting there. Then I blocked her again, for good this time. 6 months passed faster than I expected. The house filled up slowly. Furniture from thrift stores, a decent couch from Brennan's cousin, a kitchen table I built myself from lumber. Nothing fancy, just functional and mine. Work promoted me to senior coordinator. Rebecca said I'd earned it. I think she just appreciated that I showed up every day and did the job without drama or complications. The divorce papers arrived on a Tuesday in October. Simple manila envelope, official stamps, final decree. I opened it at my kitchen table with coffee I'd made in the machine I bought myself. Read through the legal language that officially ended 6 years of marriage. Then I filed it in a drawer and went to work. No celebration, no anger, just closure. That weekend, Griffin and Brennan came over for the first dinner party in my new place. Nothing elaborate or fancy. Burgers on the grill I'd picked up, beer, football on the TV I'd finally bought. "How's it feel?" Griffin asked. "Being officially single again? Feels like I've been single for 7 months. The paperwork just made it official." Brennan raised his beer. "To new chapters. To self-respect," I countered. Same toast as before, still true. We ate, we laughed, we watched the game. Around 8 p.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost didn't check it, but I did. It was her from a number I didn't recognize. "I heard it's final. I just wanted to say I'm sorry for everything. You deserve better." I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back, "I know, that's why I left." I blocked the number and set my phone down. Griffin noticed. "Her?" "Yep." "You okay?" "Yeah, I'm good." And I was. For the first time in years, I was actually good. Not perfect, not completely healed, but good. I had a house, a job I liked, friends who had my back, family who understood, space to breathe, room to grow. I'd learned something important through all of this. You can't make someone respect you. You can't love someone into treating you right. You can't fix a relationship where only one person is trying. But you can respect yourself enough to walk away. You can recognize when you're worth more than what you're being given. You can choose yourself. That Friday night, she told me to leave if I didn't like her life. She thought she was calling my bluff, that I'd never actually do it, that I'd bend, that I'd break, that I'd beg. Instead, I took her advice. I left. And I built something better, not with her, despite her, because of me. The divorce was final. The chapter was closed, the door was locked, and I was finally free.